Welcome to the Full Monty and a Cup of Joe. Do us a favor and subscribe to the podcast and leave a positive rating and review for us. We'd really appreciate it. Let's get into this. I was in Manhattan on Saturday watching K-State beat UT Martin 41-6. This was a game at halftime. It was 17-3, and K-State needed a block punt for touchdown to have that advantage. Otherwise, they were only really up a touchdown on UT Martin. Now, the defense played great, and we talked about that in our last podcast. If their defense plays up to where they're supposed to be, they're going to be in contention all year for that Big 12 title. So defense played great. The offense was a little hesitant at first. It looked like Avery Johnson had his mind set to pass instead of run. He would drop back in the pocket and go through all of his progressions. And then only if he was really under pressure would he scramble. I think he had 3 scrambles in the whole game where he actually ran the ball. So I don't think the offense showed everything. And I think if it was a better opponent, they would have. So I think they were trying to not show the whole offense and have Avery get the passing game going, and that would be enough. Well, at halftime, you're only at 14, and the fans in the stands are like, what the heck is going on here? And Chris Kleiman even said as much in the post game that he kind of lit a fire under him at halftime. And you could tell in the second half, the team came out and they scored a couple touchdowns right away in that third quarter and then kind of blew it open at that point. Defense, though, I did want to mention, they held UT Martin to 134 total yards, and I was really impressed with linebacker Desmond Purnell. He had 7 tackles, 1.5 tackles for loss, and was a total stud out there. Like NFL type linebacker play, like that good. So if he continues that and plays that well, that's a good sign for that defense. Did you happen to catch any of that game, Monty?
I did. I watched pretty much the whole second half. I'm really glad that K-State was able to open with that game at home versus instead of, say, a Tulane on the road. I feel like that game that K-State played on Saturday night, if they had played that game the same way against a stronger opponent and away from Manhattan, I feel like it might have been a different result, a different outcome.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the reason I'm saying that is because K-State did seem to stumble a little bit. And I think being at home, being around their fans, being able to calm down, settle down, come back out and get their head back in it and get the air clear, I think that really helped them a lot as far as turning the tide of that game and, like you said, blowing it open. Had that been an away game, let's say at Tulane for their first game, I'm concerned that would they have been able to make that turnaround in a hostile environment? That I think would have been a little bit more of a test and a little bit concerning. But as it is, they came out and they got their problems fixed, and they got righted and ran away with it there. And one thing I was texting you about, I was just absolutely blown away by, was just the speed of Avery and especially the speed from standing still. I don't know if I've just been blind for almost 50 years or just never, noticed it, while playing or watching football, but I cannot remember ever seeing, especially a quarterback, go from still to that fast down the field. It was absolutely amazing. I mean, my jaw absolutely hit the floor sitting there watching that, because it was just like, and it wasn't just Avery Johnson. There's so many people out there on that K-State team that were just, absolute jitterbugs. Just fast.
They've got a lot of speed. Dylan Edwards, that running back from Colorado, that transfer, he's really fast, and he played a great second half. He had a rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown.
I was amazed. I was absolutely floored by the the whole team speed of K-State. It
Yeah.
was absolutely amazing. Now, when I look at when I watch that K-State team on TV, and then I watch some of the SEC games on TV, one thing that I notice, and I don't want to say this negatively, that K-State team, they are blazing fast, but it looks like anyway, their size is not what you see when watching some of these SEC teams. I
No,
just
it's not.
I noticed that with South Carolina. The South Carolina has a bunch of big, large guys, and you can tell. I mean, some of them got some guts on them, but I mean, they South Carolina and pretty much any SEC team. I mean, they come out and they got a lot of beef, but they're not moving anywhere near the speed that that K State team is able to move at. And so, my question for you is, what happens when that K State team with that speed meets a team with size and strength, but may not have that speed? Who wins that battle? And is there a team like that on their schedule?
Yeah, I mean that's playing Oklahoma and Texas every year, but they had speed too, so maybe not a good comparison. We're used to that at K State, having undersized and speedy guys or quick guys. I mean, our defensive linemen, our nose tackle would sometimes be 265 and a 6 foot guy. So only till recently, when Chris Climate got to town, have we really upgraded the size on that defensive line. We got two nose tackles now that are 6'2", and one's 330 and one's 300. And I think that's great. That's quite an upgrade from what they normally have had in the past.
Now,
So he's slowly upgrading the size of the guys, which is a good sign. But yeah, there's not enough depth, at those positions at that size, really.
Now, when we talk about Avery Johnson, just from the few years that I've really closely been following K State, it seems to me like his speed and not just his foot speed, but his speed throwing the ball, his speed with everything. To me, it looks like it's much more impressive to me than say Will Howard or Adrian Martinez or Skylar Thompson. Am I correct there? Is he that much faster than those other quarterbacks?
Yeah, he's a lot faster. He's the fastest kid on the team.
Yeah,
he's faster than any running back, any defensive back.
See, I didn't know that.
He would beat anybody.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that he had that kind of speed. But I mean, he was just. I wish I could find the one play that I'm talking about. But I mean, he dropped back in that pocket and he looked and I mean, when he took off, it was like he was shot out of a cannon. I mean, he was just instantly gone. And I said to myself, my God, how do you do that without breaking your own ankles? I mean,
yeah. And that's why I think if they were playing Tulane last week, they would have opened up the playbook more, because having a quarterback that fast is an advantage, and you have to use that advantage. So they would have ran Avery a lot more, and they will in the future, but I don't think they were showing that part of the offense early on. I don't think they felt like they needed to, but they will here in the future. And yeah, I mean, he may be the fastest quarterback in the country.
He's got to be. I mean, if he's not, he's certainly got to be one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that, and I'm sure that his quarterback coach and all, I'm sure that they're working with him and putting it in his head. I hope he takes that slide before one of these edges or one of these linebackers comes across the field, full blast and catches him. I mean, because he's not an overly impressively stout kid, and if one of these guys puts a helmet right in the middle of that chest, and you got to be careful with that quarterback like that, because he's a target. He's going to be a target.
And that's probably another reason they didn't run him as much in the first game, especially if they didn't need to, is because they don't want to get him hurt or banged up.
No, I wouldn't either. So, I would not either. Like I said, I can't say enough about watching him seeing him on TV. I mean, it was like grease lightning. I mean, it was unreal. But I judging from what I saw from K-State against UT Martin, and the little bit that I was kind of able to pick up from watching just some clips and a little bit of footage of Tulane. I think that's going to be a really good matchup. I think it's going to be tough. I think it's going to be tough, and I think that K State is going to have to look at that game as, I'm not going to say the most important.
Stops, basically.
Yeah. I'm not going to say it's the most important game on their schedule because it's not even a conference game, but it is an important game in the aspect of it's going to look good on your resume. It's going to look much better on your resume to come out of there with a win than a loss.
And if they lose, they're out of the playoff unless they win the conference.
A decent season.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be a good game. That's definitely one that I'm going to want to tune in and watch. Is K State Tulane? I think that's going to be a darn good game.
Yeah, K State's between an 8 and a 10-point favorite, which I was happy to see since it's a road game.
I don't know that I don't. Maybe so. Maybe I'm sure Vegas knows more than I do. I see it being a little bit closer of a game than that, but who knows? Certainly not me. I've never won millions of dollars in Vegas.
Tulane didn't have any problem in their first game either. I don't have the score in front of me, but I think they shut out whoever they were playing, or they beat them by 30 points, something like that.
Like we were just saying earlier, that those first week games aren't overly huge. Generally they're kind of tune-ups, and we all know that, except for South Carolina. It wasn't really a tune-up, but
oh, hang on. I just pulled it up here. So yeah, Southeastern Louisiana, they won 52-0. So yeah, we don't know how good they are. How good Tulane is. So
we'll know a lot more.
We'll know.
A week from today, we'll definitely know a lot more. But
well, we've got an 11 a.m. kickoff on Saturday in New Orleans. It's probably going to be hot and humid. But I think K-State opens up the playbook, and I think touchdown spread is about right. I've got K-State 34, Tulane 27. Hope it ends up that way, and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks, Monty.